Hi, this is Kathleen from Sunny Mountain Patterns. This is the Pebble Trousers and Shorts tutorial. That's the shorts, and this is the trousers. You can have it gathered at the legs or not gathered. You just leave the elastic out for that case. So we're going to open it up. This is the shorts pattern, but it will work equally well for the trousers. We're going to match the inside pocket, right sides together, to the curve of the front. It should match up exactly. If it doesn't, you've accidentally got the crotch. So here I'm using contrasting fabric. You are welcome to use the same fabric, of course. And we're just going to stitch all the way around that curve. If this is too slow for you, I have a quick version available as well for a tutorial that is at 300% speed. So you can go check that out if you just need the gist of it. So once we have sewed that down, it's going to look like this. Or you can flip this over and open it up, and we're going to attach the the fabric that's going to show. So we're going to match right sides together and stitch around the curve. I really like having the contrasting fabric because it looks super cute, and you can use those scraps, which is an added bonus. So we're going to pin all the way around the curve. Do not accidentally pin your actual pants into it because you're going to have to undo all your stitches. So you can start around that, or you can go ahead and sew. Now we have to do both sides. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. And we're going to press and then top stitch. We'll get to that. So to do the other side, I'm actually quite a slow sewer, to be honest, which is probably why I don't make anything for production, because I am very slow. So I am sorry that this is so slow. But some people like having real-time, full-length tutorials. This is mostly full-length because I forgot to videotape the sewing part. So now that we're done, we are going to finish the edges here. You can use a pinking scissors to go cut around the curve, or you can zigzag stitch, or you can use your serger if you haven't already used the serger to cut it, to sew it, not to cut it. I mean, the serger does cut as well, so you get what I'm talking about. Here I'm trying to be accurate because I want to line up all of the zigzags when I do the pinking. But if you don't care, then by all means. You don't have to do this. This is optional. This is just if you want to make sure that your fabric doesn't fray. Actually, this fabric was pretty good. It didn't fray that much. I just did it for the video. If it was me, I would have just not done it because I'm a slow sewer and I need to save as much time as possible. Wow, this is painful to watch. I am so sorry, guys. You can fast forward to this part. I will not have my feelings hurt. Plus, I won't know if you do it, so. All right, now that we're done, we're going to flip it over. And I would press or finger press this and then top stitch so that it stays in place when it's being worn. So make sure that the curves aren't tucked up inside. See how it's curled in? You want to tuck that out. So this is one that's a good idea to press if you need it, especially if you have floppy material. This is not particularly floppy. How could you go wrong? It's ice cream print and TP print, which I did not pick. By the way, I actually got this as a stash. So we've top stitched it. Now we're going to fold it out flat and then pin the tops and stitch it down. It doesn't actually matter what length of stitch for this one you do. You could do a basting stitch if you like. It's just to keep it from flopping around when you want to put the waistband on. So now we're going to put the fronts right sides together and stitch along the crotch. If you're good enough to sew without putting the pins, by all means, go ahead. I'm just doing this for the video. I normally would not actually pin it together because I am, again, a slow sewer and I need to save as much time as possible. So that I eyeball it and then something slips and then I'm all off and mad. So don't be like me. Be accurate. All right, the back. We're going to do the right sides together and do the crotch for that as well. You notice this is a size 18, so I did purposely make this quite deep to accommodate diapers. My kid wears cloth diapers, so I need to be able to accommodate it. So yes, it's been tested on cloth diapers. He tested, I have to double up for him, just FYI. So now we've got those two done. We've sewn along the curve. We're going to clip the curves. If you are using a serger to do this, you don't need to do the clipping, mostly because you're going to clip through the stitches and that's not good. In this case, you can also finish the edges here afterwards, doing a zigzag stitch or pinking. If you pink, you also don't need to clip. The pinking already does the clipping for you. We're going to open these up. See, they're serged. Magic! We're going to open this up and put right sides together, making sure that everything's flat, especially the pockets. We don't want anything bunched up. And then pin it down the sides. Oof, why am I so slow at doing this? I would talk through it while I was doing it, but I'm filming during the day and my kids are very loud. They like to scream and cry a lot, so I have to do the recording when they're asleep. So then you get to hear all my comments about how slow I am at sewing. So I have not sped this up at all. And I'm not editing it anymore because I'm tired. So you can please go ahead and skip this part too if you want. You already probably know how to pin sides. I will not have my feelings hurt, like I said. We're getting there. One more. You can do it. There we go. Last pin. I think I poked myself on accident. Don't do that either, because then you'll bleed on your fabric and you'll be upset. So now that we've got that done, we'll sew it down. And we're going to press the waistband. So the quick and dirty method, you only need to do the half press. And also please notice, don't actually iron on your cutting board if all you're using is a diaper insert. I sort of warped that cutting mat. So use an actual press board or an ironing board, please. I didn't find out it was warped until after I was done. Oops. So we're going to do this in half. Of the quick and dirty method, this is good enough. If you're going to do the professional finish method, you're going to have to do one more step, which is flip this open and flip one of the sides in by 1/2 inch towards the inside. I'm showing both so you can have the option. It just depends on how much time you have and whether or not you want it to be looking super professional. Because I know there are some sewers that like the professional finish looks, and my goodness, you have my admiration because your work is amazing. I am the quick and dirty, finish it fast side where as long as the outside looks good enough, even sometimes that's not the case. So we're going to go all the way over. Don't burn yourself, please. And then set that aside. Okay, so this is the option for putting in your diaper snaps if you want to. This only goes up to size 3T though. So we're gonna, we have the bias cut strips. And we're gonna match up the inseam of the front and the back by making it flat. And then this is the first way I'm going to show you is the quick and dirty way. So we're going to match right sides together. Fold it in half. Fold the bias piece in half and put it to the right side of the pants. And then pin that and stitch it along. This is if you don't have that much time or you have a serger. Or you don't care how it looks. If you care to, you can go ahead and reinforce the bias tape, but at that point, I guess there's no reason to even have a bias strip because the reinforcement's taking up all of the flex. Also, make sure you align the pins so that they're going in the direction so you can pull them out easily when you actually use the serger, or you can zigzag stitch, of course. This is best for sergers. So the next method I'm going to show you is the more professional looking method. So we're going to actually start on the wrong side, matching the right side of the bias tape to the wrong side of the pants. Pin that in place. Sew it just with the straight stitch. I am such a slow pinner, my goodness. So this is why I have bias, because sometimes I cut it not the most accurate. You want it to go all the way around or all the way to each end of the leg. Okay, now we're ready to flip it over. After you sew it down there and then stab yourself with a needle, flip up the seam allowance and then flip down by 1/2 inch the raw edge and then tuck it in. Not tuck it in, fold it over, and then top stitch where I'm putting the pins. You can tell I didn't actually sew it. I actually did not need this in the way because I have to show how to do the inseam later without this. But go ahead and go all the way down. Hey, there's my head. Sorry. It's hard to tell if I'm in the shot or not when I'm the one trying to run the camera. It's a one-person operation here. Okay, so pin it and then sew all the way down, like I'm indicating. And then once you're done, you will have an open bottom, basically where you can match these pieces up together and then add on snaps. So I would recommend doing the front to the back, whatever way you want. I use number 20 snaps because I have those and those fit well there. You can certainly use a larger snaps if you want less choking hazard. So that's what it'll look like approximately finished. Okay, now we have the waistband that we already pressed, and we're gonna match right sides together and pin the ends and then sew that. Don't worry about finishing of that because it's going to be encased no matter which way method we use. So here is method 1. We're going to unfold our pants, and we've got our waistband. We're going to fold the waistband in half. I recommend opening up the seam so it's not bulky. Like a book. You open it like a book, in case you didn't get that. And then fold it in half lengthwise. So we're going to put it to the right side of the pants, matching the back, the center back with the seam, and then the center front with the front. So you might, I think I changed my mind at this point that I'm going to put the waistband on the outside. It's whatever's easiest for you. However, if you're doing this, you want to leave an inch unsewn at the back so you can string through the elastic. Please do something to remind yourself to do this because I have forgotten before and I've had to undo stitches. And if you use a serger to do this, it's super fun removing all those little tiny stitches and then redoing everything so you can get elastic in, because these pants are going to be way too wide to put on without elastic waist. The ankles where the leg opening can be not elasticized, but there we go. I put pins perpendicular to the sewing line. Okay, well, I put pins perpendicular to everything, so I didn't really help myself out there now, did I? It's because I didn't intend on actually doing it that way. I was just showing it for the tutorial. And then just go all the way around. Make sure that you have tacked down the pocket so it's not sticking out anywhere. It should be lying flat. And then if you can, you need to open up the seams for the front and back while you're pinning too, so it's less bulky. I can't do that in this case because I use the serger to finish the seams all at once. So going all the way around, including using the pocket material. I am such a slow pinner. I am so sorry. I'm such a slow pinner. This is the quick and dirty way. Now, if you're a faster pinner than me, it will not be that much work. So that's what it's going to look like once you've done it in place. You can top stitch the seam down if you like, or you can press it. You can juice around with the piece before you go, oh, there's method 2, the peace sign. That was to tell me it's method 2. So when I edit, I know what I'm putting in. So this is the one where we have the 1/2 inch on one of the links that's been pressed as well. We're going to start off with the center back to the seam of the waistband, and then we're going to put the right sides together. To be honest, now I'm thinking about it, putting the right side to the wrong side and then flipping it around, much like we did for the second method of attaching the diaper placket, might actually be an even nicer finish. But this will definitely work. So we pin all the way around, which I'm sure you're familiar with now that we did it ad nauseum for the quick and dirty method. We want to make sure that the pocket lies flat, which is why I suggested tacking down the end of the pocket onto the actual pants front. And then we're going to go all the way around in this case. So you can see the stitches all the way around. It's now that we're going to leave an opening. So we're going to turn it right side out. I lied. Wrong side out. So we can flip over. So flip over, and then that little 1/2 inch line needs to get flipped over too when you ironed it or pressed it. And we're going to stitch that in place. It'd been a little bit since I pressed it. I probably should have pressed it closer to attaching. I'm also trying to make sure that the seams from the actual body of the pants lie flat. And preferably in the direction of sewing. It just makes it easier for the sewing machine. Like, basically, if you're looking at it going towards you, right? So it's easier to get into the sewing machine, because I've gotten stuff stuck before. And then broken my needle. That was fun. Especially for the serger. I had to go find the little tiny Allen wrench for it. So we're going all the way around the circumference, tucking in the edges. I should have added this, make it shorter. It's too late now. So going all around, this is towards the back. I'm going to leave 1 inch or 2 open in the back. 2 gives a little bit more maneuver room, but if you're looking at like a newborn size, you might want to do a little bit more, less, because you just have less waistband to work with. I'm going to pin all of these in place. Good Lord. You can skip this part too. I will not feel bad at all. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we sew it. We're going to do the hemming. So this is for either version. We just don't sew the inseam yet. You're going to double fold a 1/2 inch in up towards the wrong side or the inside. Can, of course, hem it a little bit more if you want more leeway or a thicker elastic if you're going to put a gathered elastic ankle or leg opening. So something to keep in mind is if you want a smooth finish when you're done for sewing up the side, leave 1.5 inches on each side unsewn. If you do not care and you just want to get it done, go ahead and just sew all the way down. So I'm putting the pin there to mark when to stop, and I'm going to put a pin on this side to mark where to start. Actually, that's 2 inches I added on. 1 inch is not sufficient, just to let you know. So you flip it open like that when you match the inseams up. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I zoomed in, but you have a very nice view of that. So we've sewn it, we've left the openings, and we're going to now sew the inseam, which is basically all we have to do in terms of sewing, almost. So match the crotch lines up for the front and back. There, can you see that? Looks the same as before when it was down on the mat. So we're going to match those up. I flipped one to the left, one seam allowance to the left and one to the right, or else it'd be quite bulky if they're both going the same direction. You open up the double fold for the hem, and we're going to sew all the way down there, and then roll the double fold up and just sew on the sewing machine that little section that needs to get top stitched down. So now that we've sewed it, we're going to add the elastic. We want elastic be 2 inches longer than half of the diameter of the pants. Or, if you want to measure your child, 2 inches shorter than the diameter of the waist. We will do something similar for the legs. You can, of course, measure the ankle or leg diameter of your child and add 2 inches, or you can go halfway through and add 2 inches. So I just fold it in half so I have the front and back and I add 2 inches. It's not an exact science because it's elastic. You don't want to make it like 2 inches long. That's a bit ridiculous. Or 10 inches long. That's also ridiculous for this particular size. But you need 2 of these, right? Because you need both legs. If you do not want to do this, you're fine. Don't worry about adding on the elastic to the legs. You still do need to do elastic for the waist though. You can just finish that up, the leg part. So now we're going to string the elastic. I've got 2 safety pins, one safety pin to anchor the end so I don't lose it when I start pulling, because that has happened to me before. You can, of course, use my hack where I use a cord when I sew the casing for the waistband in place by adding in the cord in and having the tail stick out and then tie it or pin one end to the cord and then pull it through. This is the more traditional way of doing it, is how most people typically will do it. Either they'll use a bodkin or a safety pin. I like these diaper safety pins because they've got nice thick tops that are easy to grab. Oh, I wish I had sped this up. When I recorded the quick version, this was painful to watch. So you might have to juice it a little bit to get around some of the seams because it's getting caught right there where the seam goes to the left. If it was going to the right, it would be no problem. It would just go straight over. It was getting caught up in the seam. Also, I think it got caught there because I made that a little too narrow because I'm not the most accurate sewer. And we're just going to go all the way around. I'll tell you what kind of sewer I am. I'm the kind of sewer that ain't got no time to pattern match pockets. I never pattern match my pockets. I never pattern match anything. If it just happens to match up, then okay. But it's totally an accident. It's not because I try to. I don't know how to match plaids. But the people that do, oh my goodness, you guys amaze me. So we're going all the way around till we get to the opening. You can see how it's a good idea to have the other end pinned because it's going to start pulling, especially now that we're distributing the elastic around the outside, the circumference of the waistband. This is quite tight because it's very bunched up. A little judicious pulling works really well, but you can see how I would probably lose the other end. It's already starting to tuck into the beginning. So we pull this out slightly, pull the other one out slightly. We're going to pin them together and then sew them together. I like to just put the ends together instead of trying to overlap and make it super smooth and flat because it's kind of hard to do with that much space. And then flip down the waistband and sew it in place after you've done that. My kids are so skinny though, I leave it open so I can tie it a little bit more. So that's the overlap, which is the other way. It's nice and smooth. It's just a little harder to do. So if we're going to do the ankle or leg opening, we have to use a slightly smaller safety pin because the amount that I flipped it up is not enough to accommodate one of my lovely diaper pins. So I just added a pin to one side because I know it won't get pulled through. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. And this is of course optional, so if you're not doing this option, please feel free to skip ahead. For the rest of us, we're going to gently move this around the circumference to the other end. You can pull as you're going to redistribute some of the fabric so it's not all bunched up and they get bound up when you're trying to actually extend everything all the way. Once we get to the other end, we're going to tack down. Actually, we're not going to tack down both sides. We're just going to sew them together, either end to end or overlapping so it's flat. And then flip over the double fold and top stitch that down, just that section that needs to be stitched down so that's not popping out the elastic. So once you're done with that, you're basically done with the pattern. So we're going to attach these two together, sew it, and then flip open all of the openings for the elastic and top stitch them in place. If you did not do elastic leg, you top stitch it in place without the elastic, and you're done. So that's overlapping, and we're going to pin. It's a bit hard to do with elastic in place, by the way. So without elastic, this is what you do. You flip it over, and then you sew along that line. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the pattern.